Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the channel. I'm America Mark, and today we're here with another installment of America Mark shows you how to fix your broken crap because like me, you're too cheap to pay somebody else to do it. Or maybe you just are sick in the head and you like this sort of manual labor. So anyways, today I'm going to show you how to fix or how to replace the fuel filter and the fuel seal ring, their gas tank seal ring on your Land Rover LR4. So if you have an LR4 and you started smelling maybe some fuel smells, some gas smells, especially if you park it in the garage, that's how we noticed it. We'd come out into the garage and it just reeked of fuel. Anyways, this is how you do it. 9 times out of 10, it's, well, listen, unless you have a leaking hose or anything, there's no other, it can't be anything else. So potentially you have a cracked fuel filter assembly, or you have most likely a sort of cracked or a diminished gas tank seal ring. So if you're going to be down there, the thing is hard to get to, and you're going to spend some time pulling the tank out anyways. So if you're going to do it, you may as well just buy both parts, and then you don't have to worry if you got the right part or not. Mine, I didn't notice any cracks or anything on my fuel filter housing or assembly, and honestly, the seal ring itself looked good, but I suspect it was the seal ring. Anyways, but as you'll see, the new seal ring is a different color, so that makes me think they used a different, chemical compound or different chemistry, whatever, to make the new rings, because they're probably aware of the fact that they're failing. But the new fuel filter assembly was not expensive. All the parts together, the seal and the fuel filter assembly, were under $100, so not bad in parts. And it took me around, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours to do, but that's because I kind of fiddled around for it, did the R&D, so to speak. But now if you watch this video, you won't have to do that because I've already done that for you. So there's a special tool you'll need to make. I don't think you can buy it anyways, but yeah, if you make this tool, and there's a lot of different ways you can make the tool, but I just show you the way I did it, and it's very easy. You'll be good to go if you do it that way, and the job's not hard. It's really not that bad. I got 2 different quotes to do it. The dealership, or the stealership, wanted like $800 or so to do it, and then I called a private shop that specialized in Land Rover, and they wanted, I think, like $400 or $450 to do it, but still way more than I wanted to pay or was willing to pay. And especially considering the parts were under $100, so that's quite a bit of labor charges. And so you could probably do it, especially if you have a second set of hands to help you out. You could easily do it, I would say, in 5 hours or less. So good little weekend job. Anyways, if you like this video, if it's helpful to you at all, please like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. It helps us out big time. Also, if you're going to be doing this and you're going to be buying the parts anyways, please click on one of the links I have below to purchase them. It's from Amazon. You can get these things on Prime. It's a great, best way to do it. And it helps me out, helps the channel. And again, please, I would just ask you, if you like this video, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything at all. Costs you nothing, but helps me out. So please, just consider, hit that subscribe button, please. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Also, sorry that it sounds like I'm talking into scuba gear and you're on the other end of a scuba radio. I don't know why it sounds so weird, but I won't record it like that in the future, so hopefully no weird scuba gear sounds again. Okay, enjoy. Okay, GoPro, stop recording.
Okay, so as you can see from the start, you first want to make sure you undo every cable or wire that's near or around the fuel tank that is also connected to it. And then you'll see I removed it right there. You want to go through, find all these things. So here's the main hose for the fuel that goes to the gas tank neck or fill up. When you're filling up gas, you want to remove that. And it's just a hose clamp, so that's pretty easy. I went ahead and when I had it up on blog, trucks a 5-gallon bucket with a 2x6 or whatever that is. Turned out to be perfect for propping the fuel tank up, and you have this pretty heavy-duty skid plate that protects it. So it's, if you're doing it by yourself especially, you want to have it propped up. And just some more shots of how I had it propped up, and I was actually working the jack with one foot while I was holding the other side. So, and you just have these bolts right here, like so, that you're going to need to undo, that sort of have it mounted up. You know, you have all these bolts along here. So you just undo those bolts, and it'll come out, it just kind of drops out. So you want to put a jack underneath it, and as you can see here, I have the whole vehicle lifted up, and as you can see here, it's in off-road height, just to give me a little more clearance to make it easier to work on this. And there we go. You can see my jack, and again, just sort of, I have an extension on the jack and a 2x6, just to sort of help me out to get it lowered after I take the bolts off. But like I said, you know, I had the bucket out, and I was basically laying underneath it, holding one end and working the jack with my foot on, or with my leg on the other end. And you'll see some wires here, and you just pull those out of there. They just kind of, you know, slip into there, so just that little holding tab for them. And make sure you get them all, because the last thing you'd want to do is have the bolts out of your fuel tank, and you know, the weight of it with gravity trying to come down on you, and you have a wire or a cable hung up. That would be a bad situation. So you can see here, this end is completely cleared, and then this end I still have a bolt on it or something. Or actually, no, it's completely cleared here, but it's just sort of leaning off to the back end, and that's all it is. But looks like I may have had something still connected at that point that I then took a shot of to make sure you disconnect it. And then you have these hoses on top you want to disconnect as well. And again, just make sure you get everything disconnected. You know, that'll be the major hangup. So here it is. I think everything's disconnected at this point, and I'm just pulling it off. There we go. Oh, and you can see it's down all the way here at this point, and that skid plate is no joke. That's a heavy skid plate. So anyhow, I kind of got it propped up on this end because, and another important note, you want to make sure you have you're only on like a gallon of fuel left, because, you know, that's the last thing you want to do is have a ton of fuel in there and be trying to do this. I mean, for starters, you have fuel running everywhere, and you're just making it a lot heavier. So I waited till the tank was nearly empty, so you can see what sits on top. Here's the fuel filter assembly right here that we're going to pull off. We have some hoses and wires there. And okay, so here's the first thing I pulled off, this little green wiring harness clip. And anyways, that pulled off. If I remember right, you just squeeze right there. Came off pretty easily, obviously. So this one's got a special little clip for this hose. And anyhow, I think it twists. And I think you just twist it and it comes off, is how I remember. Looks like you maybe need to squeeze it, actually. But that one, you know, not too hard. So this, as you'll see, so here's a picture of the new fuel filter assembly. So you can see there's a little tab that's holding on this wiring harness clip. So you want to make sure you clear that tab right there when you're pulling off the old one. The last, and you can see it right there, I kind of have the screwdriver in, prying that tab up a little bit. But the last thing you want to do is break any of that plastic, because it's going to be in a place that's going to be very hard to get to, and you don't want to have that sort of, you know, eating at your paranoia that maybe one of those wires is going to come off. So anyhow, you can see there's some hoses running along here and whatnot. And again, you know, this is just where these hoses go, etc. Anyhow, and just another, you know, it's just tracking where all these hoses go, how they look and whatnot. And so you're going to want to pull this thing out. You probably don't have to, but you know, if you're going to move it decently far away from the vehicle, you're going to want to do that. So here you can see I have it off to the side of the vehicle, and that's pretty much where I worked on it. And so so you have this metal ring right here. So that ring is going to be a little problematic in the sense that you can see I took it off just using a railroad tie and a hammer, but it wouldn't go back on that way. And I just caught one of the edges and just gave it like that. But you're going to have to make a special tool anyways, so I would recommend just don't do that. No, no, no. That's a bad idea because what you might accidentally do is drive this through the plastic tank and poke a hole in it, and then you're up creek without a cattle. Then you're up the creek without a paddle. So anyways, you can see I've removed the fuel ring at this point, and here's the fuel filter housing assembly. And it's very dirty in there. Yours, I would imagine, will be dirty as well. So what I went ahead and did was cleaned it all up, just so I didn't have any particulates. My main concern was having some particulates around here that drop into the tank and then get into the motor. I mean, or just clog the filter up. You don't want to do that. And as you can see, there's some clips in here, some wiring clips that go in, and you just want to make sure you don't break those, especially inside the fuel tank. That would be really bad if you accidentally snap the plastic somehow. And you got another clip right here. You just don't want to have to be driving around thinking, is that, wiring harness going to come unclipped? So you can see I just pried that tab back a little bit, but just be very careful with it. That's all you need. Don't pry it so much that you snap it. That would be really bad. And so I just pried it a little bit in there, and that's how I was able to get it off. And so they'll just sit right there. You can still see I probably have a couple gallons of fuel in there. I ran it till it was empty, but anyhow, so I cleaned it all up, and I was extra careful not to let any particulates drop inside the tank. And I even vacuumed it all up around there just to make sure. Maybe I'm a little paranoid or OCD about it, but anyways, that made me feel good. So I went ahead and did that. Now, there's the old ring, or is that the new ring? Let's see. Yeah, so this is the new ring. So the old ring, if you'll see, I don't know if you can see in any of these pictures, the old ring, you can see it right here. The old ring was actually green. The new ring, and I imagine it's a different chemistry that makes up the rubber or whatever. The new ring is orange, but the old ring, my guess is, was susceptible to damage from the fuel, whatever. But what I went ahead and did was rubbed a little oil on it. You just take any motor oil, really, it doesn't matter, and just lubed it up so that way it doesn't dry out and crack, because you're going to be twisting this new fuel filter assembly on it, so you don't want it to hang up and tear or crack or anything. And also, it's not really going to be getting any lubrication, so you just want to make sure it stays lubricated and doesn't dry up or crack. So anyways, hooked everything up, hooked all these wires up, dropped it in, and here's where the problem started for me, but luckily you won't face this. Trying to get that ring back on was a real pain in the butt, so I eventually made a special tool, which I'll show you how to make. Super simple. If you can weld, or you know somebody who can weld, or you have a shop that can do some welding for you, really anybody with any welding skills can make this tool. So you have this ring. So basically what I did was I took the ring off and I traced the ring, so I knew I knew how to fit a tool to where it would fit exactly on it, because I tried this method, and anyways, that was about 3 hours of lost time. So I went ahead and made this special tool. So you can see here, you just want to make the tool right to where it fits into all the spots right. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, remember that. And just make sure you have a point of contact that's going to be hitting everywhere along sort of the spaces within the ring. And I only have 3 points of contact, but that's all you need, just so that when you go to tighten it, you have all these 3 sort of legs making a point of contact to tighten it up. And anyways, basically this is just like a 1/4 inch thick plate of steel. It doesn't even, you could literally get away with probably an 1/8 inch thick of steel. It doesn't need to be that heavy duty. And then I just have some studs sticking up. I mean, honestly, you could even weld a nut on top of here and just throw a ratchet on it with a socket and twist it that way. These studs were just already on here, so that worked out really well for me to throw this 2x4 across the top. And what you can't see behind the 2x4 is there's some more studs as well to hold it in place. And so I just was able to tighten it down that way. And anyways, you get a better shot of the tool, and you can see some marks right there with the Sharpie of how I traced it out, so I made sure my legs are going to have, be making contact where I wanted them to, and, just make sure they're nice and square, so, they're not running off crazy, but super easy to do, and that's all there is to it. So if you found this helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. I wish I would have recorded video of this, but unfortunately, all I have is pictures. But again, the thing I can't stress enough is make sure you run it really low on fuel. Run it to where it says you only have a few miles, 10 miles, 20 miles, whatever of range. The lower the better. It's going to make it easier to work with. As you'll see in, like I said in the beginning, as you'll see in the comments or in the description of the video below, I have links to the O-ring that I used and links to the fuel filter assembly that I used. So if you want to be lazy and click on those links, it really helps me out actually, and then you don't have to wonder if you got the right part. You'll make sure you have a part that worked. And what I will say is that it's been over a year and no more fuel smell, no more gas smell at all in the garage or anything, and that solved the problem right away. And it's been a year and the problem hasn't come back. This was really not a difficult job at all. It was just time consuming. If you have two hands, man, if you have an extra set of hands, I should say, that would really help out. Doing it all myself, it probably took me about 6 hours. But still, even then, I would definitely recommend doing it yourself if you have any mechanical inclination whatsoever, because the dealership, if I remember right, wanted $800 to do this, and the Land Rover specialty shop still wanted like $450 to do this, and the parts are under $100. So, I mean, I don't know how much money you make, but for me, to save $300 for only 6 hours worth of my time was definitely worth it, because I definitely am not going to make $300 in 6 hours. So, it's definitely a huge money savings for me. So, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped out.